Hi friends, we at GLC would like to take a quick moment to thank you for watching our programs on this platform, and we'd like to ask you for a little favor. Would you please go beneath this video and click the subscribe button? Did you know that by simply subscribing to the GLC YouTube channel, you can help us financially support the programs on this platform? You'll need to be signed into YouTube beforehand, but if not, simply click the subscribe button and YouTube will automatically walk you through the steps to sign in or to create an account. By taking these simple steps, you will not only ensure that you continue to receive our unique programming and gain instant access to the hundreds of videos we post, but more importantly, you'll also be telling YouTube that GLC's content is worth watching and promoting. Likewise, if you enjoyed a specific program, please click the thumbs up button below, which also helps inform YouTube that this is a program worth recommending. Finally, once you have logged in and subscribed, please click the notification bell below in order to receive announcements when we post new content. As usual, feel free to post your questions and comments in the comments section below. We always love hearing from our friends and viewers. Again, thank you for watching and supporting God's Learning Channel. We couldn't spread the message of the gospel without you. Be blessed, and we hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Light of the Southwest. This is Brant here on the set. GLC, West Texas, the last bastion of American freedom. And we have with us leaders. We need leaders like never before, folks, to come together and to be heard, to show up, to vote, and to run for something. With that said, two of my guests, I'm so excited to have you both today. Expert financier, a faithful local leader, right? You're running for mayor. Judd, Campbell, so happy to have you with me.
Thanks, Brant. Great to be here.
A fearless firecracker of a lady. You know, I tell you what, I'm very happy to meet you. Shandi Williams, running for District 3 City Council.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And I'm so happy that you are, and so thrilled that you both can make it today with such short notice, because there's videos going out like crazy, you know, expounding on what a lot of people in the Midland do not know about their own mayor and policies behind the scenes. So we're going to dive right into that. Thankful for freedom of speech because we're going to use it today. With all that said, Judd, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Doing great.
Things are ramping up, and boy, you sure broke the lid open on some things that people didn't know. I know you're in good company here with Shandi as well. I can't wait to get into your stories, but breaking news, what people are talking about right now is a video with you and Dan Rogers, patriotsinAction.com. Of course, Dan, a Republican chair of Potter County. He's also locked shields with others down here in Midland that overturned a horrible bond proposition. And here we are. But Judd, you're running for mayor.
Yes.
Why do you want to run for mayor of Midland, Texas?
Well, really, I want to have a Midland that works for Midlanders. That's what I keep saying, and that's what I want to see us do. What we need is a fiscally responsible Midland. We got to have, we've got to cut the waste. We've got to cut the wasteful spending. We've got to stay out of debt. Our debt is continuing to increase. We're almost at $1 billion when you factor in interest in Midland, Texas, and it's just unacceptable. It's unnecessary, and it keeps growing. We got to get that under control. Our budget has increased by 30% in the last 2 years. We can't continue on that path. It's really dangerous, and our taxes keep going up. Obviously, we've got to increase taxes to be able to cover those sorts of increases. So we've got to get that under control. We've got to focus on things like our priorities that the city should have, like our infrastructure and our public safety. We need safe neighborhoods. And this isn't the Midland that Midlanders know.
Right.
Crime is a real problem in Midland. The stats say that violent crime has improved the last couple of years, But when you look before 2020 and you compare where we are now, we're 50 to 75% higher in violent crime than when we were for the previous decade and for the history of Midland. And so this is not the Midland that people from Midland know, and this is not acceptable place for families to and people to come work, raise their families, retire. We need to have safe neighborhoods. We need to have infrastructure, roads, and water that works for the people that live here. And we really can't be wasteful with the way that we spend our taxpayer money. It's disrespectful. It's hurtful. It puts a huge burden on Midlanders. And we can talk more about some of those things that I think are really wasteful that we've been doing. And it's just not a good situation. We got to get that under control, or we're going to make it really hard for people to live in Midland and for Midland to be the place. I want Midland to be a place, the best Midland that it can be. Right. I mean, that's what we want. And so we've got to work towards doing that. And that's why I want to be mayor.
Well, that sounds good to me. True leadership. And of course, Shandi, you want to be with District 3 of City Council. I mean, you weren't afraid to go toe to toe with Antifa and the DNC brown shirt, so to speak, you know, and you're a lifelong Midlander as well. You have a passion to serve on City Council. Folks, it's on the local level. We got to bring power back to the local level. No matter what's going on in the White House, if you noticed, a lot of the things that made us a laughingstock to the world in the last freak show is what was happening on the local level, and also horrible policies for America. But you are true Texans and what is said to be the last bastion of American freedom. Hey, this is it, folks. This is America's last stand, the good old Republic of Texas. What's the fire behind you, sister, in terms of City Council and District 3?
Well, one of the things is the constituents and taxpayers aren't being listened to. None of us are being listened to. Our voices aren't being heard. And when we do try to approach county commissioners or city council, our voices are being silenced. Right. Currently at city council, we have it to where our agendas are voted on and then we hear from the public. That's backwards. We need to be hearing from the public and then taking whatever their voices and concerns are and applying that to the vote that is happening up there on that board. They need to be voting for every constituent in Midland County, and they're not currently doing that.
So you understand people need to be heard.
Yes.
And people do not feel like they're being heard.
No.
You know, which brings us to some examples. What are some examples there, Judd, of this wasteful spending or some things maybe happening that people are completely oblivious to, just thinking that everything's okay as they go about their lives?
Well, sure, there's a number of things. People not being heard is a huge issue. And like Shandi mentioned, we don't have an accessible city council. When citizens do speak up, our city council, our city overall shuts it down. It's just not, there's not a transparency. There's not a culture of wanting to hear from our citizens and respecting our citizens. So just a few months ago, we had a bond election, the Midland College bond. They were proposing a $450 million bond, really an egregious amount of money for things that were not appropriate for Midland College. It was really a waste. It was a boondoggle, whatever adjective you want to throw in there. And so I was one, Shandi was one. There were many voices that were advocates against that bond. We had signs that we had out. The city actually goes on to citizens' property, to residents' property, and takes signs out of their yards.
Yes.
And of all of the things that a government should not be doing, I mean, this is just a target right at our freedom of speech, right? This is political speech is exactly what the primary purpose of the First Amendment. We got to have that, right? And so it was an attack on that. And so I've been engaged with the city since then to try and get some accountability, understand what happened, what led to that, and have just hit a brick wall over and over again, several meetings with the city. The transparency and accountability has not come. We still don't really know what happened. There has been no accountability around that. And it's really a terrible situation, but it's also indicative of how our city operates. And we've really got to change that culture. I think we have a spiritual problem in our city that we need to turn that around. And we've got to address these things. We've got to have respect for the people that live here and give them a voice and respect their concerns.
Imagine leaders actually serving the people they're supposed to serve. You know, like my friend Mayor Cole Stanley of Amarillo. You can talk to Cole any time, anywhere. You know, he's very accessible and he listens. You know, and I believe that's why he is successful, and that's why I'm excited to hear what I'm hearing too. It's so important because people matter. People are important. Your voice is heard. You need to know that you're heard. Your voice and your vote matters for something. That's why you need to get involved. And I don't mind, you know, Dan was going to be here and he'll be here next time, but patriotsinaction.com, free platform. Definitely want you on there. Freedom of speech, no censorship. You know, the Fuhrer, Zuckerbuck is not going to censor us. And if you can't tell already right now, you know, we're plain talking people. You know, we're speaking your language. We say what we mean. We mean what we say. You know, it's good to tell the truth. You don't have to remember what you say. Just tell the truth.
Absolutely.
I can't tell what I said yesterday, so I'll just tell the truth, right? Number one, I should. You know, and secondly, there's so much going on in the world that, hey, ask me next week, it's going to be the same answer because it's the truth. And I have the impression that both of you tell the truth and you're accessible to the citizens. You know, being a third generation Midlander, I can't imagine what it feels like to watch where things have gone. I lived here in 2010 the first time, and my gosh, you know, what a difference leadership makes. But you know what? Again, I'm very happy that you're running for mayor now. Shandi, tell you, what do you want to see on the city council?
Well, I would like to see a city council that works cohesively with the county. We currently have, they're touting that we have 16 projects. Well, how many of those projects were we actually working on our own? And none of us were working simultaneously. We were doing our own things. And while county was wasting taxpayer dollars. And if you live in the city, you're paying both city and county taxes. So you've got double dipping right there on projects that all we need to do is communicate. And when they're having an issue in the county, the city needs to step in and help and assist where they need to. We don't want overreach of the two entities, but there is definitely an oversight of both of those. And so until we can get county commissioners on board with what's actually taking place over in the county, the city needs to step in.
You know, talking about what's actually taking place, there are things that Midlanders would be outraged if they actually knew about, you know, of what's really going on. And they need to know about it. I have a feeling they're not going to hear about it unless it's coming from YouTube. But what's an example of something that might be shocking to our viewers that has been happening right under the veil here in Midland, Texas?
Well, one thing that I think is a really big issue is our Midland Development Corporation, or MDC, this was an organization that is affiliated with the city. It reports to the city, and it was voted on by the voters about 25 years ago. The purpose of the MDC was to fund and attract businesses in manufacturing and industrial businesses to help stabilize and diversify our economy. Midland is an oil and gas town. I mean, that industry drives us, and that's important to everything that we do here. That creates a lot of ups and downs. Obviously, the oil and gas business is cyclical. When we see oil price go up, we see oil price go down, and that has a big impact on our economy. And so the MDC, the idea behind that was if we could have some other industries here that would help balance and stabilize that out. Over the lifetime of the MDC, it's taken in, or it's dispersed about $200 million.
$200 million.
$200 million. That's a big number. It's a big number for anywhere. It's especially a big number for Midland, Texas. But worse than that is that $60 million, more than 25% of everything they've ever dispersed has gone to one project. And that one project is a luxury hotel in downtown Midland. This is what is to be about a 125-room hotel. It's an Omni. It's got the Omni name on it now. And it is outside of the legal bounds of what the MDC was set up to do. We should be funding manufacturing and industrial projects. This is a hotel. It's a convention center hotel. It is not an industrial manufacturing project. There the Texas law allows you to have an economic development corporation that would be what's called a type B. We're a type A. You could have a type B corporation that could fund things like this. Ours doesn't have that authority. And if a type A corporation were to do this, it should go to a vote of the people. It did not go to a vote of the people. And so we have this project it's an enormous amount of money for our town. And it's it's illegal. It's also a poor financial decision.
Illegal, poor financial decision.
Poor financial decision.
Okay.
Check.
Check.
We're putting $60 million from the MDC, which is this corporation that's set up to do this. We're putting $60 million into that. That's $45 million in cash and $15 million in land that we used to buy the land and demolish the building that was there. In addition to that, the city outside of the MDC is giving 10 years of tax abatements and rebates. So for their property taxes and hotel occupancy taxes. So they're going to operate in many ways tax-free for the next 10 years. When you project out, this is not me, when the city projects out what the benefit over the next 22 years, they looked this out over 22 years, what this is going to be. They're projecting that there's going to be income to all of the taxing entities in Midland. So not the city, but if you combine the city, the school district, the county, all of the taxing entities, it's going to be about $67 million. And there are people that sat there and said that if you put $60 million into this project and we get $67 million back over a 22-year period, that's a good investment. They sat there in the board meeting and said that. No reasonable, intelligent, capable financial person would look at that and say that's a good financial decision. It's a return of less than 1%, almost as low as 0.5% annual return. It's a terrible financial decision. Not to mention that
smells funny.
That those returns, that $67 million, is a pie in the sky number. There are no guarantees. The risk, the uncertainty that comes with a project like this, there's no proven track record. There's no good solid certainty that comes with this. So it's highly risky, just from financial. Put everything else aside, it's a highly risky investment with a terrible potential return. This is not anything that we should be doing.
Well, it's almost like putting $40 million into a theater renovation for $1 return. Makes you wonder where all that money goes, doesn't it?
Oh, well, you know? And the thing about that too is when you look at the people that own the hotel, these are the same people that are investing in our current mayors, that have contributed to our current mayor's campaign. I mean, tens of thousands. These are the largest contributors to her campaign, to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. Those are the people that own the hotel and are getting this $60 million award from the MDC. That is a huge conflict of interest that I think is completely inappropriate. And at the very least, we need to be honest about these things. We mentioned telling the truth. I mean, well, let's just tell the truth. Let's just tell the truth about what this is. Let's tell the truth about whether this is a legal investment. Let's tell the truth about the amount of money that we're putting into it. They say they're very upfront about putting $45 million. They have been completely silent about the land piece of this. $15 million, like that's nothing. Oh yeah, we're going to give them $45 million plus the land. Well, the land is not just a cherry on top. That $15 million is a significant investment.
Yeah, it is.
And so we need to be honest that, okay, we're doing this also. And we need to be honest about what a terrible return this is. And we need to be honest about the individuals that are involved.
Well, $1,500 is a big deal to people who are struggling to buy groceries.
Absolutely.
You know, what's your take on all of this, Shandi?
So I agree with Judd on a lot of things, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper because unless our viewers want Midland to become Little El Paso, that's where we're headed. Right now, we have a city manager who was hired out of El Paso and was advised highly against it. He is making $353,000. That's almost as much as our president makes.
Wow.
Well, our president has donated his, but
exactly to veterans, right? No.
And he also works with other counties. So we're not his only focus. So we're going to look into that and put that in perspective. Okay. Just remember El Paso. So he's also hired 2 to 3 individuals that work under him that are from El Paso. Now, our mayor was supposedly a school teacher in El Paso. Did they have any prior knowledge of each other? I'm not really sure if they did or not. That's all been, we're just giving you the facts. You make your
Facts aren't emotional.
Yeah,
Facts are facts.
You make your own decisions whether you think it's
El Paso,
right.
El Paso, El Paso.
So now we heard when this hotel deal first came, into light, it was going to be the Santa Rita. You don't hear about the Santa Rita anymore because it's no longer. There was never a contract with Santa Rita. In fact, there's not a contract with the Omni. The contract is with Midland Downtown Renaissance LP, which was formed out of El Paso. So you're telling me that we're city manager, mayor, city staff members are all from El Paso, and now we have this hotel deal that we gave $45 million away for an 800 parking garage. 800 cars. I've never seen 800 cars in downtown, nor will we ever.
Right.
But that's what we gave. We didn't give it for the hotel. We could only give it for the parking garage, but we don't own it. We also gave them the land. Now, we had Insignia Hospitality Group come in. They owned 20 very highly successful Marriotts. And those Marriotts came in. They said, we don't want anything from you. We don't want anything from you. What we want is we want you to give, take our money. We'll take the land. We'll build a nice, suitable hotel for downtown since they don't have one. And of course, when all of that happened and took place, we as the city MDC said, that's ludicrous. We don't want your money. We want to pay somebody $45 million and we want to give them the land and the tax abatement on top of all of that. And so when we start looking back at the foundation of everything, it all is tying back in to the same people who are contributing to the same mayor's campaign. And like Judd said, it's a conflict of interest. If we don't follow the dollar back, where exactly is this going? Where are we headed? Are we headed to El Paso? Because the last time we checked fiscally, they're bankrupt. They are absolutely bankrupt.
Do not want to emulate El Paso.
No, we are not El Paso. We've never been. And now we're bringing in their ideas and thoughts and process of how they run things through and formations of companies from El Paso that are coming in, and we're just handing them money over. $45 million on a parking garage alone is ludicrous. I would have understood if it was for the hotel itself.
$45 million on a parking garage.
$45 million for a parking garage. For a parking garage. You cannot tell me that something is not, there is an under the deal and there's a lot of things going on. We have no transparency, so we don't know where the hand is going and what is moving underneath the table.
Judd?
Well, and to add to that, this is a tactic that El Paso has used to develop hotels in downtown El Paso. My understanding now is a couple of those are owned by the banks now. They have not been financially successful, and I have real concerns about whether this is a viable project at all, and that we could be a number of years down the road and have an unsuccessful hotel in downtown. And this is not going to, there's a high risk that this doesn't even materialize, because we've seen that it's failed in El Paso, where they've tried this in other places. It's just not a viable it's not a viable option.
Maybe need to adopt a slogan, don't El Paso my Midland.
Yes. Well, and and one of the, that's a good one. And one of the things is that we also need to take a look at is everything that's going on right now in our current sitting council is that they believe that MDC is for the pleasure of themselves.
Right.
In fact, Jack Ladd was seen telling a constituent that she was speaking on behalf of a former MDC member, and there was some dealings that went on, and he said, she's for our pleasure, and that's wrong.
Right.
MDC was voted on by Midlanders. We wanted that. We wanted an MDC. but we have no control and no say-so from the moment they went into inception to today. And to me, that is where we've lost the power as taxpayers. Our tax dollars are still being spent. Judd and them busted some major FOIAs out, and one of them was $6,000 at Cowboy Prime.
Oh yeah,
For
I
one
heard
night.
about that.
Yes, for one night.
Yeah.
Those are our tax-paying dollars. And we don't have a single say-so, and we're not allowed. If we voted them in, we should be able to vote them out. I think what we need to do, MDC does have a place. I think it needs to be completely wiped clean. Everyone who is in charge, is it Sarah Harris, is over MDC. She's got strong ties. We need to completely, from the top down, and we need to reconstruct MDC the way the taxpayers initially voted and wanted MDC to serve the community.
Well, both of you, I'm so refreshed to hear what accountability
Absolutely.
and protecting taxpayers' dollars. There's also roads, issues like that too, for the, for the common voter who has to traverse that all the time. What do you say about that?
So one of the things that I love is they keep touting that they have 57,000 potholes that they've fixed. And I joke that they've fixed 56,999 potholes. And that's
a lot of potholes.
Well, it's over one pothole.
One
It's
pothole.
just one pothole, 56,999 times. Because I run over the same pothole, you see, click, fix it, and then next week it's there again. We just had a rainstorm and all the potholes are back. Our roads are in terrible shape. One of the things that we did is, A Street, it was shut down. And it was during COVID. And so things were completely unfamiliar because we'd never walked through those kinds of territories. And so that was understandable. And city did say, we took the lowest bidder. We will not do that again. This project took longer. I mean, there were weeks that we went and nobody was there working on A
I was about
Street.
to say, it sounded like the lowest bidder if you had to keep taking pictures of it.
Yes. And so A Street was being completely reconstructed. It was one of our high flood areas. And so it did need new storm drains and things like that. So now we move over to Garfield. They finally say, we learned from our mistakes. We move over to Garfield. And this was in 2023. In 2022, and we start construction on Garfield. And as soon as we start construction on Garfield, that site set blocked off, unused, torn up, because we were waiting for 10 months for sewer drains and storm drains.
10 months?
10 months. 10 months.
With all the
Set
resources.
with
in 10
every
months.
resource. However, we have several subdivisions that are, just west of town and east of town that were both being built, and they were able to find storm drains for those. How could we not? Who were we utilizing that we had to wait the 10 months for them? And did we just pick the lowest bidder? That is one of the things. And now we go down the road and it's, yes, it's a concrete road, but it is so wavy. It's going to be one of those things. The surface is so uneven. Concrete does last longer than asphalt. We do know that when it's laid properly.
Oh.
But when it's not, what are you doing? You're tearing up the tires of your taxpayers' cars, their shocks, their entire front end suspension. I mean, it's just drive down the road at 35 miles an hour. We're not talking 60, we're talking 35 miles an hour. And you feel like you were on a roller coaster. And your car feels every bit of that. And so that road is not going to last because it wasn't even laid properly. And so we have those issues. I mean, that is throughout, I would say, infrastructure. It has not been addressed correctly.
And as a small business owner, an entrepreneur, that's part of your background too, you know what construction, especially repeated construction, does to a location.
Oh, absolutely.
With traffic and business and numbers and,
So just out south of Industrial, we've torn up that other part of Garfield, and we have several mom and pop businesses that are out there. And I went with a news station. They wanted to know where I wanted to film, and I said, in the heart of the community, like who's having the struggles and the troubles. So you have a tattoo parlor, an African food shop, a hair braider. They're little mom and pops, and then a Hispanic boot store, and all of those businesses are suffering because you can no longer access their entire strip. You cannot access it. And so they don't know how they're going to stay open. And these were businesses that feed their family. We didn't have a constructive plan in place to tear up one side of the road and then work on the other.
Right.
We tore the entire road up. We're supposed to be putting a median, so you'll no longer be able to travel north, turn into their businesses. You'll have to go around and travel. And I mean, these things, like, just for this particular strip, it doesn't make any sense for the common person. The person who's constructing this and trying to avoid, and I can tell you that is a road I travel daily because I had a business that was out there off of 349. It does not make any sense why you would put a median in that area. Yes, they were raising to meet the railroad tracks because the lowboy haulers were getting stuck on it. Absolutely agree with that 100%. And that's the Railroad Commission and TxDOT taking care of that. But the other construction that we have, it's useless. It's absolutely useless. We needed to go in, we needed to lay new asphalt, get in and get out. And these people are saying that they will not have access to their businesses until it was supposed to be January, and now it's been pushed back to March, and no reason. Again, we need to be talking to those business owners. We need to be helping those business owners out.
Right.
And we're doing tax abatement for everybody. So what can we do to help these small businesses? That's what MDC was originally created for, and it needs to get back to that.
That's one of your main priorities is roads and infrastructure.
Well,
as well.
absolutely. And, when it comes to fiscal responsibility, it's not just about what you spend the money on, but it's about how you do it. And you have to do it in a responsible way, right? So we've got to be looking at who the vendors are, how we're planning these things out, how we're choosing these projects, and what it is that we're doing. Just saying, oh, well, we spent money on roads over here, well, so we're good. No, you've got to manage that process. And that means you've got to have leaders in place to be able to make those decisions in an appropriate way. And clearly, when you see the things like Shandi's talking about, we haven't been doing that. We just had some rain. Thank God.
Yeah.
We had some rain, and it's great to see the rain.
There used to flood all the time.
And that's what happens, right? Is that we have our streets turned to rivers, right? For a few hours. And then as that clears out, all of a sudden, potholes.
Yes.
Right? You just see all of those things. And we have to be addressing those. Spending quality is important, right? That's being fiscally responsible. And so we've got to be serious about prioritizing our roads. The amount of money that we allocate to that is insufficient. In 2017, we had a road bond, $100 million road bond that the citizens approved, which was $100 million of remedial maintenance work. This was not a road bond to build new roads. This was our roads in our town that have been here a long time, that people live here, rely on, are dilapidated and have not been maintained. So we have to take on $100 million in debt to be able to get those back up to where they need to be. It was 26 projects. It's a fraction of the city that actually got addressed by that.
Wow.
And that should have been a red flag. That should have been a wake-up call. Hey, maybe we should be allocating some more of our budget to taking care of the maintenance of the roads. And shortly after that, the city had a study done that said that we need to be spending about $34 million annually on road maintenance. Our road maintenance has gone from $8 million up to just over $9 million annually, woefully short of what even the city says we should be doing to adequately maintain our roads. We've got to be putting that as a priority. And then when we do that, we need to make sure we're doing it in a quality way so that we're not just throwing money at the project. And we need to make sure that we're getting appropriate bids, that we're budgeting those things. Again, these things keep coming up, but it's got to be transparent, and there has to be accountability. You can't have accountability without transparency. So that's first, right? We've got to be transparent about it. And I would like to see us to be publishing our bid, our request for bids. That needs to be in the newspaper. That needs to be more than just on our website. We need to be going out and making sure that we're getting those bid proposals from as many places as we can. We got to have appropriate bids to be able to make good decisions financially and quality wise, which is also financial. So we've got to be doing that process. And I'd like to see us improve there. And then we've got to be focusing more of our budget towards the things that matter, like taking care of our roads.
Well, you know, both of you are third generation Midlanders.
So just to clarify, I am
Your
not,
wife.
my wife
Your
is a
wife
third
is.
generation.
Okay, you got there.
So
His wife.
that's right.
Which, hey, that counts too.
It counts.
She tells you all about it.
That's right.
You know, but you not only want to increase transparency and accountability and to strengthen the infrastructure and hopefully restore credibility to these positions, but you also want to help people cut tax dollars too.
Well, that's how we do it, right? Is that what happens? So our budget process right now is really weak. We set the budget. I say we colloquially, Midland, the city sets the budget once a year.
Mhm.
They vote on the budget before the year starts and say, this is what we're going to spend our money on for the next year. And then how often would you think they would look at that and make sure that we're spending that money according to how it was budgeted? The answer is never. At the city council level, there is no review right now. There is no review of budget to actual throughout the year. So the accountability on how that money is spent, what good is a budget if you're not looking at it?
Right.
Right. And so we have to have a process in place to make sure that process should be public too. So it's not just that the city council is looking at it, but if the city council is looking at it, it should also be public. And so that the public can see, this is how we're spending our money. This is how we budgeted our money. And so we know how that money is working. We had the mayor on the radio just a few weeks ago that said, in talking about some projects that had gone over budget. And she said, oh yeah, but that wasn't a big deal because we had other projects that were under budget. So we were just able to move money from there and put it towards these things.
Just drag and drop. Man.
Well, wait. You know, that's not how this works.
That's not the process.
Right?
All that robbing Peter to pay.
And that is not transparent. It's not accountable. And that is not how you budget in a fiscally responsible way. And that's where we end up with waste, right? How many stories do you hear about, okay, we got to the end of the fiscal year and I had some money left in my budget, so I got to go spend it because I want that money for the next budget, right? And that's what happens. So you have these, you know, what I call slush funds, because that's basically what they are. You have these areas where we're under budget. And so maybe we go spend that money on something. It's wasteful, something that we don't need.
Right.
Instead of returning that money to the taxpayers, we're spending that money. And then we're budgeting on top of that for the next year. So it's not just, oh, we went and spent that money on last year's budget that we didn't really need to, but now we've put it into next year's budget and probably bumped it up just a little bit for good measure. And then, so you build that on top of, waste on top of waste. And so you end up with this bloated budget that we don't have transparency over, we don't have accountability over, and we end up with taxes going up, with debt going up, and with our priorities being left behind.
And, you know, again, it's a red flag if someone gets angry at a question. That's why it's red, right?
Yes.
And you find out who people are when you tell them no.
Oh,
But you want to restore that, you know, in the age of Doge, the epic, unimaginable waste and lunacy and corruption, especially from one party. I mean, I know it happens obviously in both, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was very surprised to hear a former leader of that party endorse the Midland mayor and someone else too. What do you know about that?
Well, that's right. It's on video where the No Kings protest was here in Midland, and the leader of that protest was asked, who do you support for mayor? And she said, I believe, I will not vote for him, talking about me.
Right.
And said that she supported Mayor Blong and Jack Latt.
Well, it echoes in my mind when I see that lady, the perfect typical picture of a No Kings protest. You know, hey, if Trump was a king, they wouldn't be able to protest, right?
Right.
You know, but all they'd say is, I'd never vote for him, Judd, but hey, you know, the mayor, you know, Lori, hey, you know, if she agrees with you And of course, we know the crazy ideas. Gosh, look what's happening in New York. And then also saying, and of course, to that lad, he's not one of those crazy ones, but hey, if loving your country makes me an outlaw, call me Jesse James, right?
Absolutely.
Or about being crazy, what would you say?
Unfortunately, if what we're calling crazy is passionate, and a patriot, then I am crazy and unhinged. That is who I am, because I stand up and I fight. I fight for those who are unjust. I fight for those who don't have a voice, or that their voice has been completely silenced by those that they have elected. And so that's one thing that is the exact reason I am running for City Council District 3. I am a passionate person for all of those around me.
You're passionate, yet you're also approachable too. These two did not know the questions I would be asking.
We did
Now,
not.
there are people that will not do an interview unless they write the questions, right? Kamala Harris and others, but they didn't know. And that tells me a lot too, because I know that you really care. You got skin in the game, being parents as well, and you've served on boards as well. And of course, close to your heart is not only the average patriot, you also have a heart for people who have struggled with addiction. And I believe you served on a board that combated some of that as well. We need conservative leadership to even combat that, with all the fentanyl deaths and all the drugs pouring in, So, folks, it should not be even a thought what we need to do. You have to be pro-America, pro-family, pro-enterprise, But what would you say about that?
Well, I care about people. We want a Midland that works for people, right? And so so you mentioned, I worked with the rehab center, the Permian Basin Rehab Center, which is physical rehabilitation. So these are mainly kids that have, some physical issue. And so to be able to have a support system for them, and be able to help them to see the change. When you see a child that has struggles with everything from autism to other physical disabilities, and be able to see them get help and just be able to operate and live through their day and function through their day, and all the way through even elderly that have gone through just a deterioration of their body, and they need some physical help in being able to be able to live through their day. It was really a moving and inspirational place to be a part of at the Permian Basin Rehab Center. And I was glad to be able to do that. I want to see people thrive. That's the goal of, everything that I do. I love people. I love God. And I think it's our duty to serve the people, serve others. That's why I'm here. And it's a huge part of my motivation is my faith and how others are treated. And I think we've got to have that at the city. I mentioned earlier that I think we have a real spiritual issue at the city and in our country, right? This is happening across the world, that we have just real problems with our culture. I have kids. I've got a blended family. We have 6 kids between us. My oldest is 20. My youngest is 3.
Wow.
And so it's really important that we have a city that works for families, that we have a place where they can thrive. And we've got to protect our kids from all of the attacks that are coming at them in this world, and give them a place where they can thrive. And so I want to see us do that. We've got to show that at the city, right? And that comes with not being influenced, conflicts of interest, corruption. Those things it's just unacceptable, and we can't allow that. And that just creates a place in the city. It creates an environment that's not conducive to a God-loving people, and we just can't be complacent about that.
Well, you're a mayor for the people.
Absolutely.
Right? We're getting a lot of good slogans here, right?
Yes.
But they're true, because there's 2 kinds of people. There's people who love people and use things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people who love things and use people. And you two are very concerned about the citizen. You can step inside their shoes and know exactly how it feels. with the rehab that you've been involved with, there are a lot of people who have found themselves now caregivers for a spouse they love and care for, or child, and all of these little things. Oh, the little people. There are no little people. There are no little people. And so when you're throwing around millions of dollars and wasteful spending and other agendas and foreign interests and downright treasonous action, if you ask me, you're not thinking about the average person, that to them, it's a big deal when it comes to taxes. It's a big deal. You're caring for your wife who's struggling with her health, and you have to get your car repaired because all these millions of dollars are being thrown around, yet the road isn't even repaired right for the 5th time, right? Or if you're a business owner, and I love Texas. I travel all over the country, but I've never seen so many construction projects attempted all at the same time, right? And then also pragmatically too. Doesn't it take longer to finish a project if you cause traffic to be backed up 4 or 5 hours? Well, that translates into hours and days and months and all that. But you've got a strategy. Both of you have a strategy, not only for transparency and communication, but you want to see this city run efficiently. And I'll tell you what, you can't reap a harvest without breaking up some dirt. You got to change some things.
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to be happy losing that contract that they were hoping to get, money. You want to see things get real, but as far as breaking up some dirt and some necessary changing, we've been talking about this entire time. But what are some pragmatic things you want to start on day one?
Well, I think our budgeting process, like I said earlier, our budgeting process is broken. And so I would like to see us go to a true zero-based budgeting. So as I mentioned before, what we do now is you set the budget and then you base your budget based on last year. And so whatever you spent that money on, then that gets budgeted in the next year. We need to scratch that. What we spent last year, look, history can be a guide for us to estimate what we need, but we need to be setting our budget on what are our priorities for this coming year. And we need to build that up from ground zero and say, this is how we want to allocate this money, and make sure that we're intentional about how that money is spent. And is that going to be what is in the best interest of Midlanders? We have to take care of the people that live here. And so if we're not doing that, then we're not respecting our citizens and we're burdening them. You mentioned, our family. My wife, her grandparents lived here, her parents live here. It matters. When taxes go up, it matters. And you have to be respectful of that. And so we have to start there, I think, and build that budget. We have to be reviewing it on a regular basis. I want to see us have at least a quarterly review at the city council level of where we are on the budget so far during the year, so that we can evaluate how that's going and make sure that those funds are being spent the way that we budgeted them to be spent, right? It's a no-brainer that we do it like that. We have to open up transparency when it comes to credit card spending. The city, when city employees are traveling, those expenses need to be improved up front at the city council level. We've seen a history of issues with credit card spending. There is virtually no transparency. We've seen documents released of credit cards from city employees, and this is at management level, upper management level employees, that first of all, the city redacted some of those charges. So we don't know what that was for. They've asked the Attorney General permission to not tell us what those expenses are for. And we don't have a good explanation. So there has been an explanation, something about medical expenses, but it's unclear exactly what that's all about. Why are we putting medical expenses on a credit card? Who is doing that? What's that arrangement like? Again, transparency. How hard is this? We can get an explanation and protect people's privacy. But even outside of those transactions that were redacted, you see that the way that the reporting works is that you don't see the vendor. When you get credit card reports from the city, they don't show you the vendor. They show you a date and they show you an amount. Well, If we don't know where that money was spent, well, that's not transparency. There's no accountability that can come from that. So we need to have that, and that needs to be it needs to be available, and it needs to be easily accessible.
Right.
So to the extent we can make that available online, I'm going to push for all of that. If even the process of having to ask is a barrier to transparency and a barrier to accountability accordingly.
Absolutely.
And so we have to make that as easy as possible for citizens to get that. FOIA requests are intimidating, they're time consuming, and we need to make it as easy as possible.
A new level of transparency is what you want to provide.
It's got to be a culture.
And good leaders
Right.
disarm fear, and transparency disarms confusion. And so I'm excited about that. Day one, Shandi.
So day one, I'm going to make all of our constituents and taxpayers informed. I want them involved because my voice goes to absolute zero. And I have a loud voice. So I tell everybody, my voice is at 1,000 and my voice goes down. And then 22,000 taxpayers under District 3, their voices rise up. And what are their needs? But they don't know what their needs are if they're not informed. You know, that's where we are right now. We are not informed as District 3. We are not informed on any of the projects. We're not informed on reallocating of money. There's no transparency there. And so we need to be informed so that we can vocalize what we want as the taxpayers. Because at the end of the day, the council serves the taxpayers. That is who we are. And I hope every single one, I was in a video where that's what I was telling county commissioners, each and every single one of them, that you work for me.
Right.
As the taxpayer, you work for me. And I feel the same way. And I hope everyone holds our feet to that same fire and that same accountability, because I know both Judd and myself, that's all we want is to be that same transparent person that we are asking them to be. And we've seen the discord between that, just between that. With the median age of 30 to 35 in Midland, those are going to be your new families. They're young families. They're working. They're trying to pay their mortgage, their car payments. A lot of them have their children in private schools. There's no time for them to come to city council meetings at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday that lasts until 2. It's just not, it's not feasible. And we need to make sure that if we are having to adjust our day, we're meeting in the afternoons. That one, public speaking and any public information, it comes before our agendas are discussed, period. Because we need to make sure that they are informed and they have the opportunity to give us their opinion and voice. But it will be my job as District 3 City Council to take information I have back to every one of my constituents and then take the majority of their votes and the consideration of the minority back into the council chambers, where we make educated decisions and we encourage them. Okay, guys, this is what's going to be on here. Majority of you are against it. I need you to come and speak and vocalize what are your opinions? What are your thoughts? I've always been a person who believes that multiple heads together can get a project done and get it done well. You just have to be able to delegate how those heads come together. And if you're collectively thinking, which most of District 3 is, we can conquer quite a bit of things. It's one of the larger districts. And, and just speaking with the constituents and taxpayers, I know for a fact that they're bright, they're brilliant, and they have opinions. And those opinions don't need to go unearthed. We need to bring everything out and say, okay, this is where we're sitting and this is why we believe this way. So that is the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that we're informed, and the only way to inform, one, change our city councils, and then just taking all of this information back and being as transparent as possible. There wouldn't be questions if city council currently was transparent.
Right.
There wouldn't be. We wouldn't have the the discord between taxpayers and city council if we were informed and we were educated on what was going on. One of the things that they talk about is MDC. They want everything to be put online. And they're like, oh, it is online. Here's the link for it. Well, it's called a 308. It's a link for tax abatement. So that's another thing. It's not transparent. You're saying, yes, it's online. It's actually not online. And we need to make sure that everyone knows exactly what's going on, especially those sitting on that council. Everyone knows what our goal is, what we intend to do, so that they can take it back to their constituents. And if, District A doesn't want to take it back to their constituents, that's when they're going to vote them out. They're going to see how well other districts are doing and that they're getting things allocated back to their district. And it's going to be, there's not going to be a point that you don't look at that and say, wow, why are they getting these things? Why don't we have that here? I was absolutely appalled to learn that we have a road on the south side that is in the city that is still unpaved. Guys, we are in 2025.
Still unpaved.
2025, and it is a dirt road.
I think I've been on that road.
You probably have.
My car remembers too. Yeah.
I had to go look and see for it myself, and they are working on getting that paved, which to me is just kind of crazy because we are in 2025. The person who is in that district needed to be, you're representing all of those people, not just your needs.
Right.
You need to be going forefront. And that's where I hope more people come up. And the more we inform each other, just as taxpayers, the more we feel empowered to actually stand up and speak on something.
It's hard to over communicate.
Very.
And relationships are better when you got nothing to hide, right? I mean, yes, you have discretion on certain issues, but look, hey, if my wife sees me having a hard time with her asking a question, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Ask whatever you want, baby. I got nothing to hide.
Well,
But that's part of not living a double life. And in terms of politics, not having a double agenda or a double allegiance. We have seen enough of that, but to be leaders for the people, you're not implants, you're not paid protesters,
No.
You care about people and you're encouraging transparency. In 2020, 34 million evangelicals didn't even vote. Are you registered to vote? Oh man, get registered to vote, folks. And it was better this last time, but it's still shocking how many people walk vicariously through life and then they complain when there's problems. Look, if you have a chance to have leaders that are transparent and that will communicate with you, oh man, things work together so much better, especially when you have unity within leadership as well. And it's just refreshing to hear this.
well, it's also important. Transparency opens up the possibility for everybody to be a part of the government. And we're better off when that happens, right? The city there's talented, intelligent people across the city. And if we are open and transparent about how we're doing business and those people have thoughts, opinions, and input into how we're doing things, why wouldn't we want to hear from them? Why wouldn't we want to know that? And we can be better, right? The city is better if we're getting that input. And so it's, again, transparency is essential to good government.
And competence. Hey, I saw a video clip of our president saying, hey, I was told by the left to take 2 years of legislation to fix the border. And it turns out they just needed a new president. You've seen what's happened in the country when a businessman is in charge.
Absolutely.
What can happen in Midland with financial accountability, lower taxes possibly, transparency, when the leadership has experience in entrepreneurship, experience in financial expertise? How much better can it be? I think it's catching on. Adequacy is a big thing. So don't El Paso, you're Midland. If you're agreeing with what you're hearing, again, you both didn't know what I would ask you, and salute to you because you are of the people, by the people, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. So I'm very, very grateful. So if you look in the camera there as we close out, just a brief sentence. Judd, how would you encourage people? And then.
Look, I want to see Midland work for Midlanders. I want to see we can have strong, safe neighborhoods. We can have good, strong infrastructure and have this be a place that works for everybody, that we want to live here. We want to raise a family here. We want to retire here. And if we take care of those priorities, everything else is going to fall in place.
Shandi.
So I would just simply tell you that right now, if we can allocate everything back to the taxpayers, every bit of power that has been taken and is running, it's literally corporate Midland, and put it back into the blue collar workers. That is where the power is. The power is in the blue collar workers. The power, the small mom and pop shops. That's always been what has built Midland. And it still is true today. And so I just ask for everyone to get out and go vote, because your vote matters and your voice matters. And when I'm in City Council District 3, I have an open porch policy. Whatever you need, you come on the porch and you talk about it. And we're going to get things done. And we're going to get them done collectively and collaboratively.
Thank you both for being on with me.
Thanks,
Thank
Brent.
you.
Look forward to the next time.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
Thank you so much.
And God bless you folks. Register to vote, show up, vote, and run for something too. We'll see you next time, Light of the Southwest.